What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we'll be going over Lambda functions in Python. Lambda functions, or anonymous functions, are one-line functions. Similar to how we use list comprehension, they're used for readability, and they're also easier to implement. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. So normally we write a function by defining the function, putting the name, putting in parameters, and then writing the function out. And for example, we'll have a square function. All this does is it takes an argument and then it just takes the square of that argument. All right, so you can see if I print this out, it'll be 64. Now, this is where Lambda functions come into play because we can write all of this in one line. So let's do that. So the syntax for a Lambda function is it going to put this Lambda keyword followed by the arguments, then the colon, then the expression. So let's try and do this. So following this syntax, we're going to put the Lambda keyword, Lambda, the arguments. Let's just rewrite the square function. So Lambda, it takes an x, so we're going to put x as our argument. We're going to put colon. So what is the expression? The expression is x squared. This is what we're returning. All right. So our expression is x squared. So this is the same thing as these first two lines. All right. Now to actually do this print statement, we're going to have to wrap this inside parentheses. So we're going to have to wrap this, and we're also going to have to wrap the argument, the thing that we're passing into this function. So in this case, it's 8. We're passing in 8. We're also going to have to wrap this inside of parentheses. Okay? And so we're just going to do our regular print statement. So right here, we're defining the Lambda function. And right here, we're passing in the argument. And these are two separate parentheses. So let's print this out. This is going to be the exact same thing as these first three lines. All right? So you can see we print out 64 for the first one and 64 for the second one. Now, that's one argument. We can also do multiple arguments. So say instead of multiplying to the power of 2, we want to multiply to the power of any number. So to do that, normally we just have two parameters, x and y. And let's say we want to do x to the power of y. And to do this would be, let's do 8 to the power of 3, right? And so this would print out 512, and it does. To implement this using Lambda, we just change the number of arguments. So it's basically the same thing as if we were doing a regular function. So I do x comma y. Instead of doing x, the expression, instead of doing x to the power of 2, I do x to the power of y. And for the arguments entered, instead of just 8, I do 8 and then 3, just like I did up here. Okay? So let's print this out, and here I have 512 for both. Now, you may notice that with Lambda, we can't save it. So we can only use it once, right? Unless we want to copy and paste this segment and then use it. But that's normally not what we do. Normally, we create a variable to store information, right? But we can do the same thing with Lambda. So let's actually do that. Let's create a variable. And instead of square, I'm going to call it power because now we're taking one number to the power of another. I'm just going to copy this Lambda function inside of this and store it inside this variable. And now whenever I want to use it, I can just use the name of this variable in place of the Lambda function. So similar to how we use a normal function, like calling square up here, I just call power. So I'd call power, which stores this Lambda function, and then I put 8 and 3. So this also just puts 512. Okay, same thing, same exact thing. All right, the last topic we'll cover are conditional statements. So we can also implement if else in Lambda functions. And to do that, I'm going to create a new variable called greater. It's going to find the greater value between two values. Let's do greater. And the syntax for this is similar to what we normally do, except on the right side, instead of just a normal expression like x to the power of y, we do something called a ternary operator. And a ternary operator syntax is basically what we want to output. If a condition is true, then we'll put else, and then if another condition is true. So that may sound confusing at first, but let me try and show you. So here we're going to do Lambda, same thing, x and y. We have two numbers that we want to compare. And like I said, we want to do the result if one condition is true. So if x is greater than y, we want to put x. And then we put the if statement if x is greater than y. So if x is greater than y, if this condition, we want to output x, else we want to output y. And I want you to know that if we're doing conditional statements in Lambda, you must implement if and else. You cannot do just if. If you do just if, you'll get a syntax error. And you can see that we have this red squiggly line. So all this is doing, this is a ternary operator. If x is greater than y, it's going to print out x or return x. If not, then it's going to return y. So let's try this out. Let's print this. Let's do print greater. Let's do 10 and 15. So this should print out 15 at the bottom. It does here. And let's change this 10 to a 20. So now it should print out 20, and it does. So in this video, we covered what Lambda functions are. We covered one argument Lambda functions, multiple argument Lambda functions, storing Lambda functions out of variables, and conditional statements in Lambda functions. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take it easy.